Hey guys, Jason here, musicsoftwaretraining.com. And what we're doing in this video is I'm sharing with you guys my new 2.0 version of the Ableton Master Template. And the Master Template is a collection of sounds and tools and loops and effects and every sort of tool that I thought was necessary to give you the ability to write songs just with these tools by themselves. Now, of course, I encourage you to mix this master template with any other tools that you're comfortable with using, but this is a really great way to fill out your songs and get some really great sounds going, especially if you have some trouble getting the right sounds. This could really get you going pretty quickly. So as we look into this just real briefly, let's get into drums. This is where I want to really start you guys out and just kind of show you what each of the tools does. So I'll just go through each of the parts here from simple to more complicated. So here is just a collection of crash samples here. So these are loads of samples sampled from drum machines and loads of other things. So really nice stuff. Once again, we've got control over the decay. We could actually transpose, so we could change the pitch. And anywhere in between. We've got the reverb decay here, so we could like really have a long, or we can have kind of a shorter sort of sound. So yeah, that's going to work on all of these. It's just like 30 or 40 crashes. You don't need a million of them, but all these are really good from different drum machines. And then we've got the synth crashes. And these crashes come from different synths, and some are samples as well. You have shorter decay, obviously. You can change the global time. And of course the stereo spread as well. So loads that you can do with this. Obviously reverb, you could tune, decay, all that different stuff. So those are just crashes. I mean, and a lot of time was spent just getting these together, but this is just barely scratching the surface. Next we could get to drum loops, and I've got loops in loads of different drum categories: tambourine, sticks, shakers, rides, percussion, and hi-hats. So these will help you really quickly get yourself started in putting together or adding to rhythms. And get into some hi-hats here. Really nice stuff here. Some percussion. Got some ride cymbals here. Real kind of background ones there. So those are some of those. And then we have this here, which I've called Everloop, just because there's so many different loops. So these are a lot of new samples that were added to version 2.0. So there's about 700 different samples. And the loops are numbered, and then the next number over here is the original tempo, although you can, of course, play it at whatever tempo and get interesting results. If you want to play it at its original tempo, it'll tell you so that you can go ahead and change it. $80. Or you could just keep it at wherever you want to create and just see what interesting results you get. And some of these are real subby, so you're not going to hear them, even though they've got different names here. You know, this isn't quite released yet, but these will all be renamed and everything. So, but it's actually bass sounds. So if we want, we could really quickly and easily, just using these, let's we'll make like 5 audio tracks. All right. And well, let's get that here. Let's make that a bass sound. We'll name it over here. Let's call that bass. And let's get some kicks happening here. Gonna speed this up a little. So sure, let's use that here. This will be our kick. And of course you could play this and then preview over here to hear what some of the sounds sound like together. And let's check out some of the melodic stuff here. That's cool. Pull that in. We'll just call this melodic. Maybe I'll add a second melodic part. All right, let's get some snares and claps in there. So I'll pop this in. And once again, I'll duplicate this. And maybe grab one of these others. There we go. And let's get some hi-hats happening here. try that. So there we go. I mean, that's how quickly you can put together little ideas. I mean, there's just so many combinations, you know. So something to just get you kind of inspired, you know, just with that alone. Then we've got electronic drums here in this area. We can start here with just kicks. So we've got the kick loops, but then we've got a kick creator here as well. So I can, let's just do a simple 4/4 on top of this just to make things quick and easy. So I'll drop in a MIDI pattern here, and we'll just make this 1 bar since it's going to essentially be the same thing. And put it on C3. Like so. And let's try to get a decent kick out of this. So I'll show you the kick rack here. You can create all kinds of different kicks. So right out of the gate, it's got some pretty good sound to it. And then next we can add to the drive, change the frequency, change the decay, sustain and release time, turn the track down, like so. And then the pitch envelope, that's kind of giving a snap as well as the top frequency here. So this is without the pitch envelope. So we can make it darker or a little brighter. And we could also add a second top frequency here. A little snap. Hear that snap? And then I can change the frequency of it. And then once I figure that out, I'll back that off a little bit. There we go. We've got a kick rack happening there. And of course you could go in and you could edit, you know, each of these to really become your own. You know, you don't have to just stick with the loops themselves. There's all kinds of like interesting things that you can do. You could see what we got here, like this bass here. I could kind of check in here and just do a little bit of volume tweaking. So let's come over here. There's the volume, and let's see what we got here. Let's take this out of each one. And I'll highlight this. Like that. And, oops. I don't think, let's see. Yeah, let's do this here. And we'll leave the final one open. So that just cuts off some notes. And maybe I will pull this out here. And I'll just copy this over. Like so. And that changes the bass. And also what I could do is I could change the start point to, you know, try different types of rhythms to it. So let's just go 1/16 at a time. Like so. So loads of different things that you can do just with these loops. So yeah, we got this kick done very, very quickly with the kick rack, which is, that's its specific purpose is just to make great sounding kicks. This here is a general MIDI rack here. This is really cool because you could actually drag general MIDI drum parts into this and it will conform to these sounds. So let's check that out real quick. We're gonna drag this in here. All right, so once we get the general MIDI drum rack set up here and loaded, basically what we've got is we've got all the drum sounds in the correct positions so that when we download free MIDI parts, you could actually find songs on the internet and download them free. So this is the MIDI files for Led Zeppelin songs, for example, just as a weird example. So I downloaded that, and over here, this drum right here is the MIDI part. So these sounds will correlate correctly to the sounds on this drum kit. But not only that, what we can do then is we could actually change our kick drums, snare sounds, claps, hi-hats, open hi-hats, and other things. All right, so if I go ahead and play this, got that familiar groove happening here. And then I could go through these sounds. So I'm going through the kicks here. So maybe I'll choose that one there. And a snare. All right, yeah, there you go. So you could change through many of the main sounds here, but you can get these grooves. So if I wanted to, I could add this groove to the rest of the song. So let me just lower the volume here. And as we play the rest of the song, mix this in. So that makes it also really easy to get really great sounding drum parts really quick by using MIDI, and then you could of course manipulate them any way you want to make them sound a little different, but really great starter points to do it that way. Some songs break down all the drums separately. So in this case, we've got just the kick drums alone, snares by themselves, looks like we've got tom drums here, and this is actually from a Steely Dan song, believe it or not. Hi-hats here, and so forth. So you could have a lot of fun with this general MIDI drums, and just knowing that you can drop in a downloaded MIDI file, grab the drums from it, and they'll actually line up correctly with the kit, which is really cool. Next, I can open up these electronic drums here, and I added loads of new drum sounds to this. So let me load this as a new track over here. And here's just another great set of electronic drums. So let's just go through some of the kick sounds here. Give me just a, there we go. Let's see here. All right, so yeah, I'm just gonna scroll through some of these sounds. So really usable sounds. I'll go through some of these snares as well. All kinds of great stuff here. So yeah, this I revamped quite a bit. So as you can see over here, as we get into the kicks, all these are the separate sounds, all right, all the way through. So I think there's pretty close to 127 sounds, or around 120 those. And then of course I like to do two different kicks. That way you can layer two sounds together to make an even more unique sound. Rim shots, of course snares. We've got tons and tons of snare sounds here, clap sounds as well, and the list kind of goes on with hi-hats and loads of different sounds. So this is a really great sounding kit that you can like custom build the sounds that you want. So this has been added to the Ableton Master Template 2.0. So definitely you can take advantage of this as well. So making drums is going to be a piece of cake for you just with this alone. All right. We already went through the kick rack. The kick rack, you could actually throw in these kick patterns as well, which is pretty cool. Some are simple, some of them are a little less simple. Obviously, it's just playing a note just to show you what the rhythm of the sound is, but you can drag that in and get some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, there is that the kick rack? Yeah. So for example, if I wanted to drag that into the kick rack, I'll just solo this real quick. And it's that easy. And then of course, once again, you can come in here and fine tune your kick sound really quick and you're good to go. So loads of really, really cool stuff in this drum area here that I think you really are going to get a lot out of. And that's just one of the many features. So next time I'll come back and we'll get into the bass. I mean, the thing about this master template is it's just so huge. I can't like sit down with one video and give you all the tools. So I just wanted to give you the drum portion just to kind of show you how deep that goes. And I'll get into some of the other features in some of the other videos. So I hope you enjoyed this and stay tuned for more videos showing off some of the features here of the Ableton Master Template version 2. All right, guys. Hey guys, back for another Master Template 2.0 video here. The last video we got into the drums, so if you haven't checked out all the tools available in this drum section, all this here, crazy stuff going on here, all kinds of stuff. Make sure to check out that video, but today we're going to get into the bass section. I want to show you what's available here. So what I've done to start is I dragged in our sampler bass, and that's what this is down here. And as you can see, there's 121 sounds that you have to choose from. Some really great bass sounds, very well sampled. Some of the sounds are velocity sensitive as far as the sound actually kind of changes. Let me see if I can give you an example of that to start off. So let me just scroll to this bass 45 here. So like on this sound here, you got the smooth, so when I hit it soft, you get that sound. If I hit it hard, you're going to get a little bit more bite to the sound. So that gives you some flexibility there. Then with each and every sound, you've also got all these controls. So let me show you just some of the ways that you can manipulate the sound. Pitch envelope. Adds kind of a nice click in the beginning. Or you could even play with the pitch decay. Totally up to you. And you got FM synthesis, and then you've got how quickly the FM synthesis fades in. So let's do it immediate to start. And then if I give it a bit of a decay, you'll hear it kind of swell in. Like so. All right. And then, of course, you've got LFO here. So we could turn the LFO up and get kind of more of a wobble. And then we can just go back to the original sound. So lots of manipulation for each and every sound here. So with that, let's just kind of scroll through some of the sounds here. So what I'll do here is I'm just going to play this little bass line here. It's actually just kind of different bass lines that I kind of put together just so you can hear the bass sounds in different approaches. All right, so I'll just kind of scroll through some of these sounds as this is going. And I could play this along with the rhythm so you kind of get an idea of how this plays off a rhythm. So some of these you're going to need some headphones to really hear what's going on in the bottom end as well, especially when we get into the subs as well. But so that's an example of the sampler bass. Loads of really meticulously sampled sounds. Once again, this template took me hundreds of hours to put together, and I really put a lot into it on the original version. And this update I'm just as excited about because I'm able to do some, once again, add not only more sounds, but more features as well. So I'm having a whole lot of fun sharing this, and I can't wait till it's ready for full release. And we're getting pretty close. So there's the sampler bass. Let me get rid of that real quick. And now we can check out the operator bass here. I'm just going to hold down some notes here and then I'll go through. So this change selector, as you can see, it actually creates kind of layers of these different sounds together. So it creates some interesting dynamics here. Let me just arm this track and unsolo this here. Really, really fat bottom end. And the sounds are pretty similar. You could actually automate the change selector if you wanted to, and it would kind of dynamically change the sound as it's playing, which could be pretty interesting. That's the sub chain there. I'll get into more subs in a little bit, but I want to show you more bass sounds. So let's come back here. I'll show you just the analog bass that I created. Let's jump back over here. All right, and you've of course got the controls here that you can use as well. So we'll play with the filter attack. And the click is just kind of that beginning sound transient. If I turn it off, it's kind of a warmer sound, but a click kind of helps it cut through the mix. Unison kind of thickens the sound, kind of gives it a chorusy sound. So if I take off the unison, now let's back off the filter here. So the unison can really thicken up the sound quite a bit. And then we've got vibrato here. Loads of fun stuff that you can do. And yeah, so that's just the one sound there, but it's really versatile, and I think you'll have a lot of fun with it. Next, let's check out the wobbler synth. And then we could turn the arpeggiator on as well. And I could just hit some notes here. And if you automate these controls here, you could do some really interesting stuff and get some really interesting results. So that's the wobbler synth. Next we have the filth step bass. So Let's drag this MIDI in here. So yeah, as dirty as you would like it to be, this synth does some really interesting, dirty, crushing sort of sounds, and that is called the filth step bass. So those are all in the bass group, and now we could get into the subgroup. Let me show you the simpler 808 sub, and you're definitely going to need headphones for this. Really, really good fat bottom end. I've literally used this sub on a number of my songs to really good effect. Sounds great in the clubs. So, you know, it's a very simple synth. There's not a lot of controls or anything on it. It's just as it is, but it sounds great. So that is included. Let's go to our sampler sub chain. And this is, I believe, how many subs do we got here? 13 subs. And subs sound pretty similar, but still there's subtle differences that can make a big difference in your mix. So choosing the right one can be advantageous. So let's play around with this. I'm not sure if these are playing bass notes, but let's check it out. Now let me just hit some notes here. That's our first sound. And each of these sounds also has a pitch envelope here. Give it a little more snap. If you wanted to cut through the mix a bit more, and you can make it more subtle. You can do that with any of the sounds here. So yeah, I mean, a sub is a sub, but there's a lot of like different slight characteristics. So 13 will do you plenty good. You know, I've gone by for years with about 4 different sub sounds, and they always work great. So that is the sub chain, and let's see, I believe that's it. I'll just show you the sub operator one more time here. Here we go. So loads of different personalities of subs on this operator subchain just by using the chain selector. All right, so there is the bass and subs for you. In the next video, we'll get further into, you know, some of the pad sounds and synths and atmosphere sounds, all kinds of different stuff. But wanted to give you this to start off. I hope you enjoy it. I'll leave you with just a little groove here. Like so. So there you have it, guys. This is the Ableton Master Template version 2.0. If you are interested in this, you want something like this in your life, go ahead and all right, guys, welcome back to another video on the Master Template version 2.0. And I'm going to be going into some of the synth sounds. So that's going to be the synth, the leads, and the pads. And if I've got time in this video, I might get into the stutter synths as well, which is really, really cool. So let's go ahead and get started here. What we got here, we could start with the operator pad. So all we're doing here is just simply opening up the pad folder, and we pop this right in here. And here we go. We've got our macro control setup here, and this is just a few sounds for operator pads, but they sound really good. So let me show you what's what. So let's here's our chain. So if you notice over here, this chain selects the different sounds. All right. So I created 4 different pad sounds with the operator that I think you'll find pretty cool. So let's go ahead and play around with that here. What I need to do is just arm this track and it's really cool. You can obviously set the attack, release, reverb decay time, reverb wet percentage, and then you've got your filter frequency. Pitch LFO. Loads of fun there. Glide time between notes. So I could set this to, let's just do 1 second. So every sound has these controls available just to give it more flexibility in kind of sound design. And so that's the slow pad there. And here is the res pad. There you go. Next is our swirl pad. I could take the reverb off so you hear what it sounds like without as well, but I really like the added reverb on these pads. There you go. And then we got our thin pad. So there you go. Those are the operator pads, just one of the tools inside the pad folder of this whole master template that includes all of this fun stuff. All right, so next we'll get into our sampler pads. And in here we have 31 different pad sounds. So, and we've got the same kind of attack, release, reverb, decay. We've got an added phaser effect, filter resonance, and filter frequency. So let's see. Oh, I think I've got to back the frequency down. All right, and I'll just kind of scroll through these sounds. Kind of a quiet one here. Nice little reverb tail if we want it. Check out the phaser. Pretty subtle, but works really nicely. And on to the next. Slow attack. And we'll keep going through. And once again, without reverb. The original sounds are still really, really nice. Interesting, different sounding synth there. So there you go. That's the sampler pads. And yeah, very versatile, great sounds, really, really easy to use. And that's another one of the tools in the pads folder. So next, let's go ahead and get into Atmosphere. I'll go ahead and drag this in. Not a whole lot of sounds here, but just some cool extra sounds to play with. And I thought I would share some of this, so let's check out what we have here. All right. Fun stuff there. I'll take off the reverb so that we can hear them clean. Kind of a metallic sound there. So some interesting stuff there. Those are the atmospheres that I've just added. Just a whole new little section of new sounds available in the master template. Next, we can dive into leads, and we could start off with our operator leads. And of course, if I wanted to, I could drag in the effects chain. There's also a folder with loads of different effects right here. Really, really cool stuff. I'll get to that later, but yeah, we could just drag this in here. And what we've got is we've got 7 different effects chains, and we've got a chain selector as well. So yeah, we can. So we could actually mix and match if we want. We can kind of use little bits of more than one effect as well to get some really unique stuff. And then within each of these, you can see that there's macros that you could play with on each of these chains. So you could like really fine tune these as well. So really, really cool stuff. But I don't want to get too complicated here, just saying that you could dive deep if you want. So with that, that's how you can change just an original sound like this. Before, after. So now I'll just go through some of the clean sounds here. See how that sounds with this. And so forth. Get into some more. And so forth. So those are the operator leads. I'll get rid of that there. And now we'll get into the sampler lead sounds. Once again, all of this is in the Ableton Master Template version 2.0. It has not yet been released. Version 1 is available. But if you want to get on the waiting list, there will be a link where you can kind of just put in your email address so I know where to send an email and a discount code when it is officially released. And that discount code is only exclusive to people who sign up for the wait list. And that'll have kind of a limited time before we go fully public with this. But I'm really excited about what is happening with this. I'm real proud of the upgrade. I'm still very proud of the original as well. I just wanted to enhance it because I hadn't enhanced it in a number of years. So also, just so you know, this obviously we're in Ableton version 10.1, but you can use the master template all the way back to Ableton version 8.4. So it'll work all the way back to 8.4. All right. So let's check out the sampler leads now. Oh, that's right. Yeah, we've got like 77 sounds, so we've got a lot to go through. So. And with this, we've got our filter. We've got FM synthesis. Obviously attack, decay, sustain, and release. And we've got glide. So forth. So let's get back over here. And once again, these leads can be enhanced with some of the effect chains. So those are really cool stuff from, you know, kind of little, you know, everything cuts through really nicely. That's what a lead does. But some of them are definitely dirtier than others. So those are the sampler leads as well. This here is just a lead click layer. This just adds a click on top. So you would actually use this as a separate track, and you would copy the MIDI from the track that you use the sampler leads on. So that's most of it for the leads. Let's get into some synths, and these are all sampled synths. And all these sounds are upgrades from the first version of the master template. So none of these sounds were in the first version. I've added these, and there's 25 really good synth sounds. I think you guys are like quite a bit. So let's get into it. So there you have it. Loads of synth sounds as well. Once again, they could be run through Dry. You could add the effects to them, or you could just work with the reverb and reverb decay that's built into the instrument here. And yeah, so that is the synths. So with that, I wanted to dive into the stutter synths, which basically takes advantage of being able to stutter any of those sounds that you have heard in the other collections. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Actually, I've already loaded it. So what we need to do for this is jump over to the session window and open up our chopped synths here. And right here, this is where we have our different categories. So we've got sampler pads, operator pads, atmospheres, sampler leads, and synths. All right. So with all of this, what I'm capable of doing is I've created a stutter event that happens. So this tool will allow you to create stutters any way that you would like. So for example, if I just get this little drum part going here, and then I just play. Give me just a second here to arm this track. And I've got all these different patterns that come with the template. And then what we can do is I could chain select between these, and I could either have this by itself, this by itself, either of these by themselves, but if I go in between here, I could get both these first two sounds, for example. So if we come back to sampler pads, I could come over here now in the sampler pads, and now we've got the chain selector, so I could select between all these pad sounds here. So I could come over to atmospheres and do the same thing. And once again, we could change the rhythm. And come over here, sampler leads. And in case you're wondering, I'm just playing notes on the keyboard, and this is just chopping those pads up any way you want, you know, and you could actually come in. Also, this layer here adds like a little extra click, so you can mix the click in. So if I solo this part, you can hear when we're playing, you hear those clicks come in. So those extra clicks kind of help it cut through if it's not cutting through the mix. So that's what this level here is for. But yeah, what you can literally do, I could just, let me just duplicate this here. So we've got like a pattern here. I'll just create like a really simple new pattern. just a little quick 1 bar. So let me just remove this. And it's this easy to create your own. And it doesn't really matter what note you're playing on, because this is just like a trigger, okay? So we can just fold here, I guess. There we go. So like, for example, just a very quick 16th note, right? And of course I can make those shorter so it stutters a bit more. Like so. So that's how easy it is to create your own stutter patterns, right? And then I could just take this and copy it over here so that we've also got the click for both. And then I would just play right here. Like so. And of course you can run that through any sound that you want here. And lastly, you can drop your own samples into the sampler, and you could play around with those as well. You would just bring your chain selector all the way up and then drop your sample in here. Maybe I have like, let me see if I've got some sort of a voice thing in my sample folder. Here we go. So these are tempo based, so you'd have to like kind of correct the tempo if you wanted to use them this way, which is not too hard to do. But anyway, let's just pull in an idea here. I am big. I am big. All right, so let's just take something like that. We can drag it in here. And then we can play it across the keyboard. And then we have this, once I start this, so as you can see, very, very easy to get some really interesting stuff all chopped up. And even if it's not in tempo, sometimes with the stuttering, it can make it off-tempo stuff really interesting and still make it sound like it's on the rhythm, but do some interesting things. So there's lots of fun stuff that you can do with that. So there you have it, guys. That is a number of more tools that are available in the master template. All right, so we'll get into a couple more things in another video, but yeah, we've kind of gone through a lot of the stuff. Maybe in the next video we'll get into the in key tool, which is also very fun and cool. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this third video. And once again, if this is something that you need in your life, why don't you sign up for the wait list. Hey guys, welcome back to video 4 in the Ableton Master Template version 2.0. So we've gone through quite a bit in the last 3 videos. I'm going to try to finish this up, if possible, in this video. So we're going to go through several different folders here, and I wanted to start with the filters and rises. Filters can be really important in adding some suspense into your songs, and it's not that it's really difficult to do, but it's really nice to have tools that are readily available, as well as having just different types of noise as well. As you can see in this folder, we have loops of just different types of noise here, which you could also find really helpful at times. So with that, let's go ahead and drag in the filter sweep rack here. And here we go. So we've got 4 different types of filters. We got an operator filter, then we got a low pass, band pass, and a high pass. So we'll start with the operator. You just use a chain selector to select between these. And as you can see, this chain here, as it moves right here, it'll choose different filters. All right. So let's just start with the operator. And with noise, you just press any key on any keyboard and you're just going to get the same kind of noise sound, right? Very low. And as we open it up, obviously, so added to this is delay, reverb, LFO, resonance, chorus, and flange. So that gives you a lot of different approaches that you can take to make a lot of different types of filter sounds. So it's not just a static. Let's see if I take everything off here. Resonance down as well. This is just a very basic. Right? Which can be pretty cool as well. But I just wanted to give you guys more options. So let's get some of that delay happening. We'll get some resonance. Right. Let's turn down the delay. Turn up the reverb here. Nice little splash sort of sound. Really nice stuff. Noise is really, really useful in giving a bit more intensity to a track, just adding that higher frequency sometimes. It doesn't work in every track to be certain, but if you're trying to add a bit more energy, sometimes noise can be the trick. So let's go ahead and we'll add some flanger here. So let's just turn this pretty high so you're really able to hear. Right? Chorus. Chorus and flange. Almost sounds like a car driving by or something like that. And then we could do LFO rate. So let's, I'm going to actually control 2 knobs at the same time, the filter frequency and LFO with my controller. So lots of fun stuff that we can have with this filter sweep rack. It's just something that you can just pull in at any time and get a lot out of it. Another thing that you can do if you wanted to is you could just set up another audio track and you could just set it to the filter sweep rack and arm this track. And then what we can do, I think we got to arm this track as well, is we could record what we do with these filter sweeps, and then we can just cut this audio up and use it in our song. So we can, spend a good 15-20 minutes just playing around with different filter sweeps and then cut up our favorite ones. and that could be pretty interesting as well. So it's just as simple as hitting record, coming on over, and playing around. Get a little delay going. So forth. And as you can see, you've got all your parts here. Obviously, I'd probably want to turn the volume down. That's pretty loud. So what you might want to also consider is on this track, might be helpful to come in and drop in a limiter. And also bring down the volume as well a little bit. You could always turn it up later. But anyway, there's the filter sweep. Let's get to our next tool here. And that is our endless noise rise. So this is just a real simple tool here. And the way that this works, we've got 3 clips right here. Just so you can see them a little better, we'll just change the color briefly. So there we go. And all we're doing is just clicking here, the arrow on the group. And what it's going to do is it's going to create this endless rising sort of sound. Just like so. That just might be something that you might want, you know, in a breakdown or something like that. And it just will give you an endless rise. Now you might want to put some sort of a filter after it if you wanted to. But yeah, this is just something that gives the illusion that the rise is continuing and continuing. So I thought I would throw that in as a cool tool as well. Then we just simply have white noise by itself. It's just nothing special at all. Just some white noise. Never know when you're going to want that. And there's our filters and risers. All right. Next we could get into effects. So we have effects for different things. And I've already shown you drums and haven't necessarily showed you the chord rack. So I'll probably do that in a bit. Delay, reverb chain, what have you. So what I'm going to do here is let's go ahead and, I haven't shown you the stabs yet. So let's go ahead and play with the sampler stabs. And don't worry, guys, this is going to be simplified here. Some of this stuff is redundant, so it'll be more simplified for you. And this is one of our stabs here. And of course, we can affect the... But it's not very exciting in and of itself, right? But these are actually the way you start these off. So what I'm going to do is I'll drag in the stabs effect rack. And once again, this is a collection of loads of different chains of, as you can see, chains of effects. They're all by default turned off, but once you go past halfway point, it turns that effect on. And then you can come in here as well and you can affect all the intricacies of this one effect, for example. So I could change the delay feedback, some dirt frequency. Delay amount, reverb amount. Different frequencies. So these are like two different filters here. So yeah, so you're getting a lot of variety here just with one sound. And this is just, once again, one effect. I could turn that off and turn the next one on. This one here. And then you could combine them if you want as well to get some really interesting. So that's what these effects racks are all about. It's very simple to use. You can manipulate each of the samples. So this one I just opened, I go ahead and shut that. I can go to the second one and do the same thing, as you can see. Third one. So all of them just have all these different ways of manipulating each of the effect racks. All right. So I wanted to give loads of flexibility, but make it super simple to get, you know, an effect happening. And once again, you don't have to use these effects necessarily on what they're created for. You can kind of misuse them as well. Let's we try reverse effects rack. Let's see what that's all about. And so forth. Reverb and delay. There we go. And once again, when you go into the individual ones, you could really play around more with the, you know, the filters and all that different stuff, whatever is available. Pre-delay. There's different effects for each rack, so you can absolutely mix and match as well. We can drop in the chords rack. And this will give us a bunch of different chord ideas. So just by hitting one note, that's blank here. And as I go through, let me go back into our stab effects. And we'll go ahead and turn a couple of these on. I'll use less effects here so you can actually hear what the chord rack is actually doing. So I'll just leave one of these effects on. So all these are just loads of different chords that you can play with, and then you can just hit one key across the board and get different sounds and results very, very quickly. This is something you can use for anything that you like, really, but it's dropped here in your effects. All right. So just another tool added to the effects folder. So next we could jump into the operator stabs with effects. So let's just drop that on top to replace it. Well, actually makes a new track there. So here's some of the other tracks. In here we've got stab effects that we can just turn on and off. However, you could drag in the one with macros here anytime you want. And we have several of these. So let's just jump over here. Once again, I'm going to grab the chords rack and we'll go through some of these sounds here. That's considered the blank one. So different chords there. Now we'll get into the different stabs. Once again, we can change the chords here. Like so. And then of course we've got the different effects. With all of them on. So loads of fun with just that. You can keep those off or on however you would like. So yeah, those are more of the stab sounds that were created in Operator, all ready to go for you. And when this is officially released, we'll have all these options ready to go as well. For some reason, they don't seem to be mapped here. There might be some sort of translation happening in Ableton 10 that's not mapping things that were mapped in Ableton 8.4. So I'll definitely take care of that. So let me get rid of this here. And let's jump into In Key. This is a really interesting tool that I think you'll like quite a bit. So let me just drag this in here. Awesome. And as you can see here, I've actually put some instructions here as well, just to make it easier for you to set this up. But I'll show you right here how it's done. So what we've got two different options. You could go either by the note, kind of in order: C, D, D major, E flat, E major, F flat, F major, F sharp, and so forth, and then into the minors as well. This works with the mixed in key tool where the numbers are correlated. So this goes from 1B to 112, and then the minors are 1A to 12A. All right. Oh, I think I just said 1B to 112. No, 1B to 12B and 1A to 12A. All right. So with that, what we've got here is we've got some blank clips here, and we could just enter pretty much any note set that we want. Not even trying to pick anything in a particular key or anything, because what you'll notice is this tool is capable of taking care of that for you. So once we got that, what we need to do is figure out whether we want to go by note or by number. I would like to go by number, so I'm going to set monitor to in on here. And then what I'm going to do is We've got our operator right here. So I'm just going to use this basic sound, but you could actually replace this operator with any other third-party or internal synth that you want. Doesn't matter. All right. And just for fun, I like to bring in a delay. And that's fine. Set to 3/16. Just make it a little less wet. And so now we've got this clip here where we just entered some notes. All right. And we're just going to play this. So that's not in any particular key, but as I hit these, you will notice that the key will conform. So all these random notes will conform to different keys. So this is a really great way to just come up with melodic ideas that you wouldn't have thought of. All right, so let's go ahead and play this. And then as I click on this, you'll notice that it conforms to the different keys. Go into some of the minor keys. And stop that for just a second. Now, what's really cool too is if you are already working on a song and you know the key that it's in, let's say it's a F major, for example. All right. So if a song is in F major, the cool thing that you can do is using the in key tool, you'll know, okay, F major is 7B. Now, what's cool about this is the way that harmonizing keys work is whatever is closest to number. So 6B and 8B will also harmonize with F major. And also, so if you have a song in F major, you can actually, let's do this again. We'll set this and get this going. So this will work. This will harmonize as well with F major. This will also harmonize. And then 7A, which is D minor. All of those will harmonize with that key. So you could literally play around with different variations of one melody, right? So it's a really versatile and interesting tool that you can use and experiment with. You know, another thing is if you haven't started a song and you're just trying to get a melodic idea, you could just kind of run through all these different keys and see how different note patterns that you create work. You know, let's go ahead and create just another one here. So just once again, completely random. Okay, so this here. And once again, this is just like a basic sound, you know, I didn't even mess with the operator really at all. So you could, of course, get the sound doing some really interesting things as well. So yeah, that is the in key tool. And that is also part of our Master Template 2.0. So as you can see here, your instructions here, you create melodies here. Then you choose MIDI to, and you choose whether you want to send MIDI to by note or by number. All right. I typically go by number. And as you can see, both of these have MIDI from the MIDI loops track. So whichever one you set to monitor, that's the one you're choosing. And then what you want to do is make sure that you drag in your synth of choice, or you can use the operator, totally up to you. So that is the In Key tool. All right, so next I want to get into waveforms. And this is a rack that wasn't available in version 1 of the Ableton Master Template. So this is new. Let me go ahead and drag this in. Now, the importance of waveforms is that is the foundation of pretty much all synthesizers. So, for example, if I come over and I drag in an operator instrument, right? Operator has 4 different what we call oscillators, and each one of these can play a waveform, right? So if we come over to one oscillator, we see here, this is the waveform that's now available, which is sine wave. And these are the other waveforms that are available for this particular synth, right? So you've got saw wave, square wave, triangle wave, and as you can see, it shows the waves here. And operator actually has this interesting way of, as you add different harmonics, you can see that it starts to change the waveform, right? So these changes, these subtle changes in the waveform can really give a synthesizer a lot of personality. So if you're able to sample waveforms from vintage and synth plugins, you're able to get a much wider variety of sounds that you can work with. So that's what I wanted to do here with the waveforms synth. So what we've got here is about 115 to 130, well, 120 waveforms that you can choose from here. All right. So if we go through this, you'll see a lot of these waveforms look similar, but they're not the same. There's a lot of subtle differences. All right. As you can see, these are different square waves. And then we get into kind of a saw wave, pulse waves, etc. So these are all kinds of different waveforms that you're able to work with. So these are the foundations of sounds. So what we've got 3 different waves that we can mix together to make even more complex sounds. And then I've just created some macros to give you more flexibility on this. And then of course you can drag in any effects that you would like and play around with that as well. So let's just start with one waveform here. And as we scroll through, we get a wide variety of similar but different sounds. So forth, right? And then we can kind of mess with this sound a little bit with FM synthesis. We can slow down the attack so it fades in. We can use an LFO. Filter with resonance. So forth. So we've got a lot of fun stuff that we can work with. So next what we can do is we can layer this waveform with another waveform. And as you can hear, the waves get more complicated as we go. So when your wave is at 0, it's actually silent. So there's nothing there. So once you move above 0, you're going to get a different waveform. We can give it a little bit of FM synthesis. And so forth. So this is a really great synth for just making really interesting sounding waveforms or layers of waves. because when certain waves play together, some of the waves kind of start canceling each other out and kind of creates like almost like a comb filtering effect. There's a lot of really interesting things that happen when different waveforms work together. So this synth is available in 2.0, and it's a lot of fun. It can give you some really rich sounds from a variety. It kind of mimics a variety of different synthesizers. So good stuff there. And next, I'll show you the utility real quick. This is a reverb tester. It's really cool. So what we found is that reverb, it's most transparent. In other words, you notice what the reverb is doing most when you run white noise through it. So this is just a really simple tool where operators set up to white noise. So it doesn't really matter what note you play, you're going to get some white noise. And then you've got a reverb after it, and you could actually hear exactly what the reverb is doing. So change the reflex, and you hear it changing the sound. Change diffuse. Density. Size. Quality. Of course, we can get into low cut, high cut, spin, chorus. With pre-delay, if you want to test out, you want to kind of set this to probably 50% or something like that. So you hear some of the original sound, and then you can so forth. So what's great about this is you can really hear exactly what the reverb's doing before you assign it to a sound. So if you really want to fine tune what type of reverb you're putting on a sound, you can use the reverb tester, and then you can just copy and paste your settings to a sound, and you're going to get a more accurate idea of how that's affecting that sound. Next, I'm going to get into our, well, I'll show you the scale tool here. This is kind of similar to the in-key tool, except you can't really change keys on the fly in the same way. But this allows you to choose with this chain selector whichever key you would like, and it will transform whatever MIDI is playing to that key. So if you have issues with understanding music theory or what have you, you could drop one of these on all your MIDI tracks and have things in the same key. So just a simple tool that you can add to any MIDI track. I want to show you the sends. Most of these are pretty basic. You know, we've got short, medium, and long reverb. We have 3/16 note delay, quarter note delay. So these are the most common. And so since they're so common, if you drop them in as a return track, you can assign multiple sounds to these returns by using these sends here. All right. And then you can choose the amount that you want on each track. So save CPU, and also if you use kind of the same effect on multiple sounds, it kind of makes all those sounds sound like they're playing from the same space, which can sometimes be cool. For example, maybe adding a short reverb, the same one, to a whole drum kit or something like that. Make all those drums sound like they're playing in the same room. So what I wanted to show you here, though, was the dub feedback return. So let me drag this in real quick. What's cool about this is you can actually feed this back into itself, and just with a simple sound, you can get such a wide variety of long, drony, really interesting feedback. So what you would want to do here, as you can see, this is kind of grayed out. you have to right click to enable the sends. And that's what I did here. So I enabled these sends. So what I'm going to do, since this is return A, I'm going to send the return back into itself here. So it just does some more interesting things. And now all I've got is just a simple clap sound. Let me just turn this on. And then you can kind of play with these macros and do some really interesting things. And at this point, we could even turn off the original sound. Yeah, really interesting feedback, and depending on how much drive you add and stuff like that, it can give more extreme or less extreme effects. And that's just a simple clap sound that we ran through it. So you can really get interesting stuff by what you run through the dub feedback return. So I wanted to just show you guys that because it's a lot of fun to use. So last, what I'll do is I'll show you the reverse effects. So I'm just going to drop this in. What we've got here is just, we've got an effect rack here that you can play with. And then I've just loaded a bunch of kind of riser sort of sounds. And you could drag your own sounds into here as well. Just a bunch of reverse sounds. And then you can use the effects here to make it more interesting. And just a few different sounds. And so forth. And what you can do is in your song, if you find kind of like a sound that you want, you could just simply copy and paste it onto your reversed effects anywhere in your arrangement. And that's usually easier, you know, once you kind of figure out what sort of effect. But what's great is you can use the same sound, but just by manipulating the effects, you can get a different sort of thing. So it's not like the static same sound every time, just to create, you know, different builds and anticipation and that sort of thing. So another really easy to use tool, but really versatile. And with that, we've got our Ableton Master Template 2.0. So I hope you got a lot out of this. If this is the first video you're watching, make sure to watch the 3 other videos where I go through all the other sounds and tools that are available. And it's either available now, or if it's not yet available, you can sign up for the wait list and be the first to know about when it is released, which should be coming soon. Definitely